What did teachers do when you were in school that they would be fired for today? In the early 2000s, my 5th grade teacher was having a hard day. It was clear she had a headache and was exhausted from personal life things. She was older and her husband was ill and it was taking a toll. She was a great, patient teacher and still is my favorite. One day we were being little shits. Just loud and obnoxious and unable to sit still. Just one of those days. I remember her sitting at her desk after trying again and again to get us to settle down, and she just stood up and said, "Will you all just shut the fuck up?" and walked out in the hallway. It was just dead silent for a few minutes until she came back in, briskly apologized, and went and sat back down. Didn't have one of those days again in her class. You'll never forget it. Sorry, Mrs. O'Sullivan. For the record, if my son told me that happened with one of his teachers when he's old enough to know better, I probably would send the teacher a bottle of wine and some donuts, and apologize for whatever those mean kids did to her. But I know some parents would throw a fit about it. Some girl protested some uncontroversial fact that was presented in class. She comes up with this alternative theory that's a well-known quasi-religious conspiracy. Teacher goes, "You can't honestly believe that shit?" Spankings were not unheard of in the 1970s parochial school I went to. My 2nd grade teacher would openly threaten the students with, "If you don't straighten up, I'm going to hang you upside down and box your ears in." We thought it was funny. It's been so long I can't remember the grade I was in, but I also had a teacher who invited 3 or 4 teens who were battling drug addiction to come speak to our class as a "don't end up like me" kind of thing. We broke up into groups and hung out with them during class. We got to ask questions and listen to how they got addicted and what their lives were like. It was pretty impactful, but I can't imagine that going over well these days. My high school algebra teacher was married to the physics teacher, and they were on the verge of divorce. She said a lot of really inappropriate things about him and their relationship. She'd be talking about a math problem and turn it into divorce, like, "Suppose your husband leaves you and takes from your account, along with all your self-respect." One time she was complaining to us about their problems, and she said, and I can't even tell you the last time we hugged. I mean, G-femme, you know? She was French, G-femme means I'm a woman. We were aghast. Another time, my good friend and I happened to hang back after class, and this teacher started sobbing. She told us about a big fight they had had the night before, and I have never felt so low as I did when he walked out of the kitchen like that. Dominant left-hand person. They smacked me for using my left hand to write, then proceeded to tie it to my chair to prevent me from using it. My parents were eventually called to school since I was illiterate, since I couldn't even write individual letters taught in late kindergarten, and asked to step up in my learning process at home so that I could write like a normal person. Had a PE teacher drag a kid by the collar into the locker room and hose him down in the shower clothed. Since the kid crapped himself, it was running down his leg, and he was taking every opportunity to throw it at other students. He didn't face any consequences for it. Pretty sure he would have been fired and wound up on some kind of list today. We had a teacher that would pinch us if we were misbehaving, or push us out of our chair. This was in 2nd grade. I acknowledge that non-straight and non-white people exist. Yardstick across the hands by the nuns. Christian hate was a thing even 60 years ago. Had a sub in high school that dressed in Playboy regalia. He would show off his clothes and jewelry with the Playboy emblem on them, then start talking about his war experiences. Once when we realized who the sub was, we just started doing our classwork and ignored him. He threw a fit, total toddler meltdown. I saw my friend Steven lifted out of his chair, smacked on the bum, and placed back. He cried. Class continued. Saw the vice principal slam a kid against a brick wall and get up really close in his face, gritting his teeth. No idea how that ended. Had a substitute that took a girl outside, and when the girl came back she was bleeding from her armpits. She said the teacher had dug her nails in and done it. I believed her. These were both in primary school. We would have been around 9 or 10. This was in the 80s. 1960s, public school teacher had prayers in the classroom. Kids took turns praying before we went to lunch. A fake, nobody reported it. Sexually harassed me when I was 12. Yuck. Chalk thrown at us for not paying attention. It was all in good fun, and she was one of my favorite teachers, but it would not be allowed today. I was in the cafeteria with my brother, who is 1 year younger, and another kid was making fun of my brother relentlessly, and a male teacher came over and took the kid by the collar and basically dragged him over the table and told him to knock it off. The kid deserved it. Hit kids. When I was in high school Jesuits, we had a chemistry teacher who used to sunbathe in the nude on the roof of the school. He used to make his own mini explosive packets that he and another teacher used to scatter on the hallway floors during classes. When the bell to change classes sounded, they'd lean back against the wall, laughing their asses off as the kids went down the hall, trying to jump away from the chaos under their feet. In our senior year, he took a few of us to a local dive bar frequented by prostitutes. We dedicated our yearbook to him, best teacher I ever had. Throw the chalkboard eraser at students, early 2000s, Belgium.